The football season is amongst us. It is on its way. I can't believe the Premier League is back this weekend. But there's a few questions that I want to ask, not just myself, but I want to ask you as the viewers of the West Ham Network. I think there's a couple of key questions and things that are related from last year into this year, of course, as per usual. So before I get started, I hope you enjoyed a couple of shows we had out last night. Of course, the wrap up with Jimmy Talks, fantastic show as per usual. And then, of course, we had the old school hammers. I hope you like the thumbnail, Budgie and Kieran, of course. So the first question I want to get asking, and I suppose you could say it's for Lopetegui and West Ham fans, is, will the lack of entertainment harm Lopetegui? Now, many West Ham fans were frustrated last season under David Moyes because they found his style of football very defensive, quite dull, quite mundane, rather than the aggressive style of progressive football moving forward, goal scoring, and trying to win games on the front foot. However, the Europa Conference League victory silenced many complaints of fans on and in relation to Moyes, and he'll always be remembered by fans for delivering that trophy. Despite that, though, there was little resistance to the decision to part ways with him in the summer and bring in a new head coach, as West Ham fans were now pushing forward for some entertaining football. But haven't we seen this before? Back in 2018, West Ham replaced Moyes with Manuel Pellegrini, aiming for a more entertaining style. We made several high-profile, at the time, costly signings, but only finished 10th in the Premier League. And it seemed like, at the time, a classic case of be careful what you wish for, which is what West Ham fans hate to hear about. Now, we, as West Ham, probably realised our mistake and have learned their lessons from that situation. And while some fans might expect Lopetegui to bring more entertaining brand of football, that's not necessarily his full-blown style. Now, Lopetegui does actually prioritise defence. During all of his 3 seasons at Sevilla, the best non-penalty goals per game he has achieved was 1.34 in 21-22 season. In comparison, West Ham averaged more under David Moyes in a 23-24, which is 1.47. Now, Lopetegui has brought in to strengthen the defence last season. Only the 3 relegated teams conceded more goals than West Ham, which was 74, who allowed 3 or more goals in 11 matches. Now, fixing the defence is going to be Julen Lopetegui's main focus, and understandably so. He has focused a lot on bringing in forwards, more people that can score more goals, but as of late, we've started to see some really nice strength and depth in our defence, and we're not finished there. Now, that supposedly leads you on to the next question. Is too much change, is quick change dangerous? Is that the right way to put it? Is changing this situation, is too much change at the club a dangerous place for West Ham to be? West Ham have made 8 new summer signings. We've changed our boss. We've seen 8 players leave the club. At least 5 of the new signings, you could say Wan-Bissaka, Kilman, Todibo, Somerville, Füllkrug, are expected to play probably strong, significant roles in the first team quite quickly. And more signings are due to come, potentially impacting that first team. There's also the possibility that we might lose Lucas Paqueta at some point in this season due to suspension. And that unresolved situation means he and West Ham face a level of uncertainty as the season begins. And given his important last season, adjusting to the change of not having him in our team or squad could be a big change, a negative change for us. Will this overhaul be too much for the squad to handle? West Ham faces the second most difficult, one of the most difficult opening 5 games of the seasons. And we're going to have to adapt to Lopetegui's style. We're facing tough home games against Villa, City, Chelsea, away games to Crystal Palace and Fulham. Now, West Ham ended last season with only one win against the relegated Luton and 4 defeats in their final 6 games, placing us 17th in the Premier League form table. This means that we are, in theory, on paper, not starting the season with much confidence based upon our performances in May, but things have changed. And they should change after the difficult start because on paper, West Ham are facing only one of last season's top 7 teams in their next 5 games after the first 5, having played 3 of the top 6 in our opening 5. Now, the first 5 matches, it's going to be seen as a learning period, and there'll be a lot of pressure on following the 5 games and the aim to pick up points. What do you think? The next one I could ask, the second last question, could be, will the lack of European football be a help or a hindrance? Now, we're not going to be participating in European football the first time in a long time, and the strain in the squad is not going to be there. However, there's going to be fewer opportunities for players to really make an impact, or will there be, depending on what Lopetegui does in the utilisation of his squad. But also that means there's also going to be fewer opportunities for Lopetegui to try his tactics out. So will that kind of schedule be beneficial or will it be detrimental to the team? Now, this will be the first season since the 2021 season that West Ham aren't playing in Europe. Our domestic performance suffered in 2 of the last 3 seasons. We finished 14th and 9th in the Premier League despite having potentially better results. Now, we've had the summer refresh, the investment in the squad, and there's an argument that just concentrating on the league could be advantageous for West Ham. So since August of 21, only Manchester City 179 and Liverpool 173 have played more competitive matches than West Ham 164. What a ridiculous stat. And a break this season could be very beneficial for West Ham, given that we've got a new coach and given them time on the training ground to implement all of his ideas. Now, I think Lopetegui will probably be disappointed, as you will be, that we're not got European football, considering he's got a European pedigree. He won Europa League with Sevilla back in 2019-20 and would likely take any of those competitions seriously. Now, we've got many highlights over the European journey over the last 3 seasons. Obviously, the main one, winning Europe. And we haven't reached a quarterfinal of a domestic cup competition since the 2010-2011 seasons. But we have made the quarters and the semis of the last 2 Europa League participations and, of course, won the Europa Conference League. Now, European competitions offer a better chance of silverware on paper than the FA Cup or the League Cup, which is another reason Lopetegui might regret the lack of European competition. Now, whether that lack of European competition is going to hinder West Ham's success depends on what our priorities are for the year. If the goal is to finish as high as they possibly can, which is one of the remits for Lopetegui to extend his contract and challenge for the top 4, playing fewer games could be advantageous to West Ham. And I think that brings me nicely on to the last point. West Ham have struggled over the years to find a striker. Will Füllkrug succeed? In the past, West Ham have signed many strikers. We've done a show on them. It's ridiculous amount of strikers under our current owners. And in the fast-paced world of the Premier League football, we often make big judgments about new players. Now, West Ham's new forward, his first season will be seen either as a success or failure. We'll probably make that judgment very quickly, again, depending on how he's used. Now, we've got the biggest of poor performances of bringing in centre forwards to the club. And Füllkrug won't need to do much to be considered successful, if I'm being brutally honest. And simply, his role will be come in and score goals. But equally important, it's going to be his ability to keep those centre-backs busy with his physical play, therefore allowing the rest of the creativity that West Ham have got in their team to flourish, the likes of Bowen, Somerville, Kudus, just to name a few, Paqueta, just to name a few. Now, Füllkrug excels at playing with his back to goal. He loves involving others in the game as well, which should work well with the players that West Ham have brought in and also with the current crop we've got. But that is also assuming that Lopetegui will prioritise a solid defence over free-flowing attacking football. I think he is going to have the balance because he's got no choice when we've got look at West Ham's forward line. Now, over the past few years, Füllkrug has demonstrated his goal-scoring abilities, using his clever movement to find good scoring positions. He doesn't need much time on the pitch to score, as evidenced in his international performances since his debut for Germany in November of 22. He's averaged a goal every 63 minutes in the major international tournaments. He scored 4 goals in just 227 minutes, averaging 1 every 56 minutes. The best rate of a German player with at least 5 games in the World Cups and the Euros. We will all be hoping he can adapt to the Premier League as quickly as he possibly can. So that brings an end to my 4 questions I've got for Lopetegui and West Ham. It's a good food for thought, but let's not judge. Rome wasn't built in a day, and I think this squad we're assembling is potentially got the potential to be a special one, but we need to give it time to adapt. And let's hope West Ham do give it time to adapt. Thanks for watching. Come on, you hands.